Hey everyone, welcome. You know, I get a little bit nervous. I think this is my third or fourth live stream, and I open StreamYard, and there's Wendy Williams and Cop Wife, Cop Mom, and then Kelly. It's like, and Ann, I think you're all my members too. It's like, okay, I got this. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight. Speaking of members, you guys, I created some special emojis for you guys, for the members, and also some badges for the times of, for the longevity of membership. So I finally got around to that. So let me pull up my screen here. Okay, I don't know. I never can see how many people are in here right now, but I'll go ahead and get started just in case. I don't know. I can't read the screen very well, I think. So hello everyone. Welcome back to Motive and Method. My name is Stina, and I want to tell you up front that I'm not an attorney or a psychologist. My background is in communication. I have a bachelor's degree in communication with honors and more than 25 years of experience in professional writing and verbal communication, including my current position right now in consultative sales. So I am still working. So on this channel, I examine language, framing, contradictions, and patterns in the public record. And also, before we get started, I have this plan. I want to give a special shout out to my channel members. We are now 22 strong. Yes! Thank you so much for supporting me and this channel. And thank you to every one of you who has subscribed, watched, commented, and shared. We are only about 225 subscribers away from 3,000, which is honestly incredible to me. The way we're going, we may be there before I know it. Maybe in the next week or so, that would be cool. So tonight, though, we're going to compare several very forceful public claims made by Steve Shirilla with Dominic Russo's own recorded words and with testimony given under oath at Mackenzie Shirilla's trial. The trial testimony we'll be examining comes from the official trial transcripts obtained by Samantha of the I Don't Belong Here show in response to her Freedom of Information requests. So I want to make sure she receives full credit for obtaining and sharing those records on her channel as well. And so I won't be displaying the full transcript pages on the screen tonight because I might get all screwed up in my screens, to tell you the truth. But I have linked the transcripts in the description below. You're welcome and encouraged to read testimony for yourself and examine the record directly. So I'll get started by saying Steve has repeatedly insisted that Mackenzie and Dom were not breaking up. He has insisted repeatedly that their relationship was not volatile, and he has argued that an earlier incident on Interstate 71, when Mackenzie allegedly threatened to crash a car with Dominic inside, did not happen the way the witnesses described it. So tonight, I'm not asking you to take my word for anything. We are going to listen to Steve, and we're going to listen to Dom, and then we are going to read what the witnesses actually said under oath. So, because words matter, as I always say, and actions matter too, but the record matters more than anything, I think, in this case. So, for anyone who may be new to this case, Mackenzie Shirilla was convicted of intentionally causing the July 31st, 2022 crash that killed Dom Russo and Davion Flanagan. The prosecution argued that Mackenzie and Dominic's deteriorating relationship helped establish motive. Steve Shirilla, Mackenzie's father, has since given interviews disputing major parts of the prosecution's narrative, especially the claim that Mackenzie and Dom were breaking up and that their relationship was volatile. That particular denial matters because if Dom was truly trying to end the relationship, that provides context for what happened next. Tonight, we are going to examine whether the trial record supports Steve's certainty or not. So, before I play the first clip, listen carefully to two things, and I know you guys have probably heard these clips before. First, listen to the intensity of Steve's denial, and second, listen to the facts he uses to argue that the relationship was not volatile. So let me play that. And this is as high as the clips will go, so I lowered the volume of my voice a little bit, so hopefully you can hear these clips.
It's a relationship. They were never, ever, ever going to break up. They were talking.
What did he say? so he was very, very certain and kind of feisty about that they were never, ever breaking up. And that's what he's been saying the entire time. Not volatile. I think, did I have all of this though? Let me see.
And there were
A
other
lie.
texts
That's a
that
lie.
clear up
That's a
the
lie. I'm going to cut you off. Sorry. I got to cut you off. That's a lie. That is a lie. Volatile
lying?
is not the right word. That is harsh. These kids fought and they broke up and they got back together. That was their MO. They weren't fighting. This wasn't a volatile relationship. They were never, ever, ever going to break up. They were talking.
Yeah, I thought I was going crazy there. Yeah, so Steve, I've said this before, Steve, what Steve just described was a volatile relationship. He says, you know, if he would just think about what he just described, they would break up, they would get back together, they would break up again, and then Dom would arrive the following day with flowers. That is not evidence against volatility, Steve. That is the pattern people are usually describing when they call a relationship volatile. Now, I want to be fair here. Steve's intensity does not automatically prove deception. A father who sincerely believes false stories are being spread about his daughter may become angry and forceful when he tries to correct them, of course, and that can happen. That is one possible explanation. But another possibility is that Steve reacts so strongly because, and this is my opinion, because this particular issue threatens the narrative he wants the public to accept. And the question of whether they were breaking up is not a minor relationship detail. So it goes directly to motive. So let's put aside the volume, the anger, and the label. What does the record show? So I'll cover a little bit of the trial transcript after this next clip. In the next portion, Steve explains why he is so certain that Mackenzie and Dom were not going to break up. Listen closely to the assumption built into his wording.
Look, this has been thrown on me. They were not breaking up. And anyone who says that, sorry, that is untrue. That is a lie. And that is a narrative that the prosecution needed to go to put my daughter in a bad light, to make it seem like she had a thing against this kid. Because if she was going to break up with this kid, she would have told my wife, and that never happened.
Did you hear the assumption that he's making is that Steve says that if Mackenzie were going to break up with Dom, she would have told his wife. But what if Mackenzie was not the one person trying to end it? What if Dom was? And we know from things that were said that he was trying to end it with her. Steve does not say if either one of them was ending the relationship, we would have known. He says essentially if Mackenzie were going to leave Dom, she would have told Natalie. But that answers a different question. The issue is not only whether Mackenzie planned to leave Dom, the issue is whether Dom was trying to leave Mackenzie. And on that question, we have testimony from Dom's brother. So at this part, I'm going to read the testimony from the trial transcript. And like I said, that you may read it yourself. In the description, I have the links to both transcripts, and I think it's in volume 2 is where I'm quoting here. So Angelo Russo, Dom's brother, testified that he had known Mackenzie for years and had once considered himself something like a big brother figure in her life. He said that changed after he repeatedly observed behavior toward Dom that concerned him. Most importantly, Angelo testified about conversations he had with Dom in June and July of 2022. I'm going to read the relevant portion. So right here, I'm reading from the transcript. Angelo Russo, under direct examination from the prosecutor. The prosecutor is questioning Angelo, Dom's brother. Question: was there a point in time, if you know, that the relationship between Dominic and Mackenzie started to change? Answer: yes. Question: and tell us about that. Answer: in the months of June and July previous to the crash, we had a couple conversations. In the past, my brother and Kenzie had broken up many times, which is not uncommon for younger couples and stuff. But in those months of June and July, and there was an objection and that was overruled. And he continues his answer. From conversations that I had with my brother, I learned, that's my understanding, I think he wanted to fully end their relationship and just move on. The conversations led me to believe that he was planning on doing that soon. So I've stopped reading from this point. So Angelo did not testify that Dom was merely irritated after one argument. He said Dom wanted to fully end the relationship and move on. That matters because it directly addresses a possibility Steve's statement leaves out. Steve asks, in effect, why would Mackenzie break up with Dominic without telling Natalie? But according to Angelo, Dominic was the one preparing to end it. Now, let's look at what happened when the defense questioned Angelo. So again, I'm reading from the transcript from cross-examination. So Mackenzie's attorney was questioning Angelo. Question, and you said they fought and broke up numerous times, right? Answer, yes. Question, since it wasn't Mackenzie's house, your brother could have just kicked her out, right? Answer, yes, that did happen. I love Angelo's. The defense kind of lets us slip in, but I love what Angelo does here. He said, question, and your mother could have kicked her out? Angelo, answer, that also happened. Question, everybody else says she was living there until the day of the accident. Answer, she moved back in, but there have been multiple times that Kenzie's own mom had to come to get her out of Dom's house. Dom had to call Kenzie's parents to get her out of the house. There were times that Dominic had to call my mother to ask her to come over to ask her to leave. So I'm stopping. Let's stop there. So there we have the parents involved in actually directly getting their daughter to leave the house. So they were involved here. Despite what Steve says, that is what the testimony suggests, at least. So the defense itself asked whether they fought and broke up numerous times. Angelo answered yes. He testified that Dom had kicked Mackenzie out. He testified that Christine Russo, their mother, had made Mackenzie leave. And he testified that Mackenzie's own parents had been called more than once because she would not leave Dom's house. That is not a picture of a calm, stable relationship that outsiders simply misunderstood. It sounds pretty volatile to me. Would you guys agree? It is a repeated pattern of conflict, separation, reconciliation, and parental intervention. Steve may reject the word volatile, but the testimony describes the pattern. Now we are going to hear from Dominic himself. This video was recorded during one of the confrontations at his house. Mackenzie is outside demanding that he let her in. Listen to what Dom says, and listen to Mackenzie's response. And I know you guys have probably heard this many times too as well.
Like, what is the point you're trying to, like, you broke up with me, like, earlier, like,
I didn't. I didn't.
Yes, you did. You said we're not together. You really said that shit. Like, you really broke up with me earlier. Like, what are you trying to make? Like, why would I just let you in my house if you break up with me and you're threatening to break my shit? Like, you're threatening to key my car, threatening to break the doors.
I will key your car
like,
if you do not let me in the house.
You're gonna key my car if
you don't let me in the house, yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I know, so just let me in the house.
No.
I love how Dom is so calm there. But she is total, in my opinion, that's gaslighting. She's going, no, I never said that. I never broke up with you. And he said, yes, you did. You got your stuff and you moved out. And she's arguing with him. So that is Dom speaking during the relationship. That was, I believe, probably within a couple of weeks before the crash, the tragic crash that killed him and Davion. He says, you broke up with me and you took your stuff and left. Mackenzie denies it, but Dom clearly understood that a breakup had occurred. This was not a prosecutor years later attaching the word breakup to an ordinary disagreement. This was Dominic in real time telling Mackenzie that she had broken up with him and taken her belongings. And we're about to learn something very important about when that video was recorded. But first, we need to go back to the incident on Interstate 71. Steve has publicly disputed the allegation that Mackenzie threatened to crash the car with Dominic inside. It was around July 17th, about 2 weeks before the fatal crash. His account relies heavily on text messages in which Mackenzie reportedly claimed Dom grabbed the steering wheel and endangered her. Before we hear Steve's version, I want to establish what Christopher Martin, known to the Russo family as Henchman, allegedly testified to under oath. Martin testified that he was sitting in Christine Russo's garage when Dominic called his mother. He said Dominic sounded upset and Christine became upset. Because Christine, their mother, had recently left the hospital, or his mother, Dom's mother, had recently left the hospital and was not feeling well, Martin decided to go find Dom and remove him from the situation. So here I'm going to read from the transcript. Under direct examination, the question, what do you remember specifically about that incident last July? And this is the answer from Henchman. Answer, we were actually sitting in the garage, me and Christine Russo. She ends up getting a phone call from her son, Dominic. He seemed upset. So as she is sitting there talking to him, I knew she was not feeling well. She just got out of the hospital, and I decided to go and find out where he was at and pick him up and get him away from the situation where he was in. So I'm stopped reading now. So Martin left within approximately 3 or 4 minutes after that phone call. He called Dom, remained in contact with him over the phone, and located Mackenzie's car on I-71 North. The car was not already parked when Martin arrived. He testified that he followed it while it was moving for approximately 30 to 35 seconds. Then it pulled onto the side of the road. So now I'm going to read from the transcript. Again, Christopher Martin, aka Henchman. Question. When you first located the car on I-71, were you driving and was the car also driving? Answer, yes, they were. Question, how long of a period did you see this car being driven by the defendant? Answer, 35 seconds or so. Question, then what happened to the car? Answer, they pulled over. Question, and did you observe anything taking place inside the car after it pulled off the road? Answer, a tussle. She was swinging her hands at him. Question, she was swinging her hands at him? Answer, yes. Question, both hands? Answer, both hands. Question, what was Dominic doing, if anything? Answer, trying to get out of the car. Now I'm stopped reading. Now listen to what Martin testified that he heard. Christopher Martin said, to read from the transcript again, Christopher Martin, aka Henchman. Question, were you still on the telephone with Dominic when you pulled up behind that car? Answer, yes. Question, did you overhear the defendant say anything at that time? Answer, she said she was going to wreck the car right now. Question, just tell us what you recall her saying, the words that you can recollect. Answer, he was saying something to her. There was some type of argument, and he said, I want to get out of this car. She's like, I'm going to wreck this car right now. So I've stopped reading now from the transcript. A couple of details matter here, in my opinion. First, Martin did not merely repeat something Dom told him later. He testified that he remained on the phone with Dom and personally heard the statement. Second, Martin said the car was moving when he first caught up with it. He followed it for approximately 30 seconds before it pulled over. So when Steve says in interviews that everything happened while they were already safely parked, that is not what Martin testified to. Martin's account was challenged. The defense questioned his timing, his route, the fact that he did not call police that day, his felony history, and even whether saying down 71, quotes, down 71, was consistent with traveling north. And then they went over a long thing about, I think the defense attorney was trying to confuse Henchman, Christopher, but he was going in the right direction. But none of that changed his core account. Christine asked for help. Martin located the moving car. He saw Mackenzie swinging at Dominic with her hands. He heard Dominic say he wanted to get out. And he heard Mackenzie say, I'm going to wreck this car right now. Now, we come to the part that connects this incident to the breakup. After Martin removed Dom from Mackenzie's car, he took him back to Christine's home. Listen carefully to what happened shortly afterward. Now I'm going to read from the transcript this part. Christopher Martin is being questioned. Question, after she made the comment, you saw the defendant striking her hand at Dominic. What took place on I-71? Answer, after that, he hopped in the car and we pulled off. I take him home. And shortly after that, her dad pulled up asking for her belongings. Question, whom are you referring to when you say her dad? Answer, Mackenzie's dad. Question, her father showed up. Do you know her father? Answer, no. Question, and he was demanding Mackenzie's clothing? Answer, yes. Question, do you recall if he, in fact, retrieved any clothing? Answer, I think he did. Question, what did Dominic do once you got back to Christine's home? Answer, sat in the garage with us. He was upset, and her dad showed up, and we went and got her belongings. So I'm stopping reading here. So there is Steve showing up to collect her clothing after a breakup that apparently never happened, according to Steve. So, and there it is, you know. Martin testified that shortly after the I-71 incident, Mackenzie's father arrived asking for her belongings. So I have the same question that appears on the thumbnail for this live. If they were not breaking up, why did Steve pick up her stuff? You know, now retrieving belongings does not tell us that the breakup was necessarily permanent. We do know it was a volatile relationship, and so they broke up and they got back together repeatedly. These were young people in an on-again, off-again relationship. They may have reconciled afterward, but a later reconciliation does not erase a rupture. And we know that they were together that night and into the morning of the crash. So yes, they probably did get briefly back together because it was on again, off again. Steve can call it temporary. He can call it teenage drama. He can say they always got back together. But on that day, the conflict was serious enough that Dom called his mother from the car. Martin drove onto the highway to get him. Dom left with Martin, and Steve came to Christine Russo's home for Mackenzie's belongings. That is not nothing, and it is not evidence that the relationship is stable either. So, now let's return to the video where Dominic says, you broke up with me. You took your stuff and left. Christine Russo testified about 3 videos recovered from a phone that had been inside Dom's home. This was after his death. The phone belonged to William Ellis. Ellis discovered the recordings, transferred them to Christine's phone, and Christine immediately turned them over to Strongsville police. She recognized Dom and Mackenzie's voices and authenticated the videos at trial. Most importantly, she explained when they were recorded. So now I'm going to read from the transcript. Christine Russo is being questioned. Question, do you recall when the last 3 videos that you have identified were made? Answer, yes, in July of 22, but after when we rescued him from the highway on 71. After that, I believe. Question, how do you know the videos were made after that I-71 incident? Answer, because we had the dinner planned with my mother, who does not live here in Cleveland and lives in Texas. She was in town. It was very unique. We were going to dinner with the grandparents. And then, question, we heard Dominic making multiple references, and the defendant as well, about going to dinner? Answer, correct. Question, that's the dinner you are talking about? Answer, correct. So I stopped reading now from the transcript. That establishes the order, in my opinion. The I-71 incident happened first, about 2 weeks before the crash. The house videos were recorded afterward, so it could have been just a few days before the actual crash happened. So after Martin testified that Steve arrived for Mackenzie's belongings, we have a later video in which Dom tells Mackenzie, you broke up with me, you took your stuff and left. Now, I want to be precise, of course. The testimony does not explicitly say Dominic was referring to the exact belongings Steve retrieved that night. We cannot claim that as an established fact unless another passage directly connects them, but the sequence certainly raises that possibility. The highway incident occurs, Steve retrieves Mackenzie's belongings, then in the later recording, Dom says she broke up with him and took her stuff. That is a connection worth examining. And Christine testified that in those videos, Mackenzie repeatedly threatened Dom and threatened his property. So here's from the transcript I'm reading from again. Christine Russo. Question, we heard the defendant threatening Dominic numerous times, correct? Answer, yes. Question, threatened his property? Answer, yes. Question, she threatened to break into his house? Answer, correct. Question, did Dominic threaten this defendant? Answer, no. Question, how would you describe Dominic's tone on these videos? Answer, very calm. Question, how would you describe the defendant's tone on these videos? Answer, irate and angry. So I've stopped reading now from this transcript. And after that testimony, the defense asked Christine Russo no questions. So the defense didn't even want to tackle with the mother, asking her anything after the direct examination. So again, Steve says the relationship was not volatile. The trial included videos recorded after the I-71 incident in which Mackenzie was described as irate and angry, threatening Dominic, threatening his property, and threatening to break into his house. Dominic remained behind a locked door and told her, "You broke up with me." Steve may dislike the label, but what word would he prefer? Now, this is Steve's version. Now we need to hear Steve's explanation. He says they have text messages showing that Dominic grabbed the steering wheel and that Mackenzie pulled over. He presents those messages as evidence that Martin's account was false. So listen carefully here.
The thing that happened 2 weeks before, the supposed where she threatened to crash the car, that didn't happen. She did not threaten to crash that car.
How do you know?
Because we've got text messages that state otherwise. My understanding is that they had an argument in the car. Dominic grabbed the wheel. It almost caused the car to crash. So my daughter pulled over, told him to get the hell out of the car. And then there's text back and forth with Dominic's mother, my wife, stating it. I could send those to you if you'd like to see them. They're in the.
Sure.
They're in. Okay, I could send them to you. I can't
They're
do it
out
right
there.
Yeah, I know that, and that is what happened. And then we got him apologizing, this and that. So he did that. That was not my daughter. And then.
Okay, so that is Steve's position, of course, and Mackenzie's text matters. He's referring to her text, and I think most of us have read or heard of these texts about after she's saying that Dom grabbed her wheel. So it is evidence that she made a compelling allegation that Dom grabbed the wheel and endangered her. But we need to distinguish between two very different things, in my opinion. Claim was true. Christopher Martin's testimony is evidence of what he said he personally heard and observed, and he said this under oath. He testified that he was on the phone and that the car was moving when he located it. He testified that Mackenzie was the driver. He testified that she was swinging at Dom, and he testified that he heard her say, "I'm going to wreck this car right now." There are at least two possible explanations for Dom's touching the steering wheel. One is Mackenzie's version, that Dom grabbed it aggressively and endangered her, but we also all heard how calm he was on the phone calls with her. So I really doubt that he just decided to endanger both of them, you know. Another is that Dom grabbed it because he believed the driver was trying to stop that from happening. The driver was threatening to crash and he was trying to stop that from happening. So that is very possible. And the third possibility that I've considered too is that the text alone cannot tell us which explanation is true. And there is another question worth asking. Mackenzie sent her version to Dominic's mother by text. So we do have that text. Was she simply reporting what she sincerely believed happened? Or was she trying to establish her version with Christine after Dom had already contacted his mother and Martin had come to retrieve them? In other words, was that damage control? I wouldn't doubt it, myself, personally. So we cannot state her intent as fact, but Steve cannot reasonably call Mackenzie's own statement independent proof that Martin lied. It is a compelling account, but it does not automatically debunk sworn testimony from somebody who said he was there, was on the phone, and personally witnessed part of the incident. Steve has also tried to discredit Martin by describing him as a felon and, depending on the interview wording, characterizing him in other derogatory ways. The felon living in Christine's basement is how he's referred to Christopher. Martin did testify that he had prior felony convictions involving a concealed weapon and improper transportation of a firearm. That information was not hidden from the court. The prosecution brought it out during direct examination. The defense had the opportunity to question Martin extensively, and the judge heard the same testimony we are reading tonight. Now, a felony conviction can absolutely be relevant when a court weighs credibility. But a label is not a rebuttal. Calling someone the felon living in the basement does not answer the substance of what he testified to. Did Dom call his mother upset? Did Martin leave to find him? Did Martin locate Mackenzie's moving car? Did Dom leave with Martin? And did Steve arrive shortly afterward asking for Mackenzie's belongings? Those are the facts Steve's description of Martin does not erase. So, now let's bring everything together here. Steve says Mackenzie and Dom were not breaking up. He said that repeatedly in multiple interviews, the interviews that he's given. Dom says on video, I quote, "You broke up with me. You took your stuff and left," end quote, end quote. Steve says the relationship was not volatile. Angelo, Dom's brother, testified that they fought and broke up numerous times. Angelo also testified that Dom wanted to fully end the relationship and move on. Angelo testified that Mackenzie's parents had repeatedly been called because she would not leave Dom's home. Christopher Martin testified that Dominic called his mother upset during the I-71 incident. Martin testified that he located the moving car, saw Mackenzie swinging at Dom, and heard her say, "I'm going to wreck this car right now." Martin testified that Dominic left with him, and shortly afterwards, Steve arrived to retrieve Mackenzie's belongings. Christine Russo authenticated 3 videos recorded after that highway incident. In one of those confrontations, Dom says, "You broke up with me." Christine described Dom as very calm and Mackenzie as irate and angry. Of course, we've all heard that recording ourselves. We heard it tonight. So, was the relationship volatile? Steve can reject that label, but he cannot erase the pattern. Were they breaking up? Perhaps it was not a permanent, clean, final breakup at every moment. They may have separated and reconciled repeatedly, but Dom's own words and the trial testimony showed that breakup conflict was real. And according to Angelo, Dom was preparing to end the relationship fully. So, I keep returning to the intensity of Steve's denial. If you remember, every time he says this, he gets very passionate. They were not breaking up. They were not breaking up. We do know that he does go off the deep end on things, but that is what I've noticed. That is the most passionate that he gets, I think, is when the fact of them breaking up comes up, or the implication that they were breaking up comes up. He gets really intense about that. So again, emotion is not proof of dishonesty. He may sincerely believe he is defending his daughter against a false portrayal, but the breakup issue appears to be one of the points he fights hardest against. And I believe that is because the breakup matters to motive. If Dom was trying to end the relationship, if Mackenzie was losing control over whether the relationship continued, if the conflict had escalated to parents retrieving belongings, threats on video, and an earlier incident involving a car, then the crash did not occur in an emotional vacuum. That does not mean every disagreement proves motive. And it does not mean every on-again, off-again relationship ends in violence, of course. It means that this particular breakup evidence was relevant to the prosecution's explanation of what happened. And that may be precisely why Steve is so determined to remove it from the story. That is my interpretation. But the testimony and Dom's recorded words are not my interpretation. They are part of the record. So you guys, I want to hear what you think. Do you believe Steve's interviews accurately reflect what was presented at trial? Do you think he rejects the word volatile while describing volatility? And what do you make of his assumption that Mackenzie would break up, would have been the one initiating the breakup, when Angelo testified that Dom wanted to fully end the relationship and move on? So let's talk about it. And thank you guys, and we're going to chat for a little while after my presentation is ending here, and see what you guys think. So thank you for being here, and a special thank you to Samantha of I Don't Belong Here for obtaining and sharing the trial transcripts used in tonight's discussion. As I said, the available transcript links are in the description in context, so you can read the testimony in context for yourself. So as I always say, words matter and the record matters, but so does the framing, big time, in this whole entire situation. So thank you guys for being here. So let me read the chat. I wasn't looking at it. I'm just reading this. Hi, Anne. You know, I was getting a little bit worried about you. I hadn't heard from you for a while, and it was like, is she okay? And then I was so relieved when you came into the chat. Anne says, looking forward to this. Hi, everyone. We'll participate in chat more after my dog gets out of the bathtub. I remember those days. Oh my gosh, that was the worst, trying to give our dog a bath. So, oh, I see Chloe in Colors is here. Hi, Chloe. Nice to see you. And Wendy Williams enters the chat. So great to see you guys. And I see, hello from Beth of a Salesman. Hello, Beth. She says hello from KC. Hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. Kelly says, I call bull. No, those texts are horrible. They really are. Before I got on here, I was thinking, because I was listening to somebody actually brought up somebody who's reading. I mean, there's a lot of creators that are reading all the texts, and I think I'd probably rather jump off a bridge maybe than read all those. But I thought maybe it would be interesting if I did it in my style. It's like reacting to the framing rather, because let's face it, Mackenzie just irritates me. And then her phone calls are even worse. So it was like, oh my gosh. And thank you, Danny, the Magic Junk Drawer, for being here. She says, hello, hope all is well. Yes, absolutely. Yes. I was a little bit nervous, but I overcame it tonight. I guess I worked earlier today, so I've been tired. Hi, Lakeside lawyer. See, I can't talk. Lawyer. Sorry, I can't even say lawyer tonight. Kelly's struggling. And Anne says, Lakeside lawyer, he is out of touch with reality. Teenagers break up often. Right? You know, I mean, I do know my little sister married her high school sweetheart, and I have a friend that married her high school sweetheart. But for the most part, that doesn't happen, usually. You break up, you move on. And I think that's what Dom was trying to do. Because I guess she would not, Mackenzie, from what I understand, would not straighten up. She kept getting worse all the time with him, and very verbally and physically abusive. I believe physically as well toward him. And so he was going to end it. And she said, no way. That's what I believe. And hi, Sherry. That's Sherry Klausner, LPT. Says, I believe he is so strong in his conviction because, like you said, it doesn't fit his narrative. But I also think he can't accept someone wouldn't want his toxic, narcissistic brand of a daughter. I agree. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine, really, can you imagine being her parent? I mean, do you remember that video that Steve said, you don't have a daughter like I have? I can guarantee you that. I mean, they've been through the ringer with her, but we can also say, well, maybe if they would have, disciplined her when she was young, maybe they wouldn't have had that problem. So my opinion, but yeah. And then Lakeside Lawyer says, I think Steve and Natalie parentified. Yeah, I'm trying to go around more. Relied on keeping Mackenzie happy. I believe so too, Lakeside Lawyer, that they just like let him take care of her. And it's like, Tom was only like 2 or 3 years older than her. He was a young man. And also he had his own trauma apparently with stuff in his background that Mackenzie also put down and wrote him about. It's just a very toxic relationship. Yeah. Yeah, Lakeside Lawyer, I agree. Lakeside Lawyer says, Kenzie went from stalker to domestic abuser to murderer, in my view. And yeah, I believe so too. I mean, I don't know whether to believe that So part of me thinks that she just went into this huge rage. She saw red or black or whatever. She said her vision went black, which is really weird. Like everything went black when she turned that corner. Like, yeah, right. But I don't know if she really didn't realize she was actually going to try to, unalive all of them, take all of their lives. But she was wearing her seatbelt. And they say that she never wore her seatbelt before. So some of it does seem, it makes me think, she planned it. So, yeah, and Lakeside Lawyer also said she had just broken up with him, in fact. Yeah, I mean, and how many times, and it's terrible, have we seen crimes where somebody took the life of a partner that was planning to leave them? And it happens, a lot of times it will happen more with men, maybe because they are, stronger and everything, physically stronger. But it can happen with women too. They can go off the deep end about that. So. Oh, Love Knows No Words. Hi. Love Knows No Words is in the house, yes, and criminal sociology. Hi. I meant to go in criminal sociology. You did another video. She did a video, by the way, you guys, of the Mackenzie Shirilla case as well from a sociological standpoint. So go check out her channel when you get a chance. Because I reached out to her. I said, there's somebody that has a question for me about from a sociology angle, and like that's not my field. So she tackled it, did a very good job. Hi, Jamie Tibbetts. Jamie Tibbetts is another member in the house. Thank you so much, you guys. Oh, Jay Bowman. I worried, you guys, this is going to seem really freaky, but if I don't hear from you guys for a while, I start worrying something happened because I'm like a mother or something. I hadn't heard from Jay Bowman for a while. I went, oh, or for Ann for a while. I hadn't heard anything from Ann Trower for a while. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did something happen? No, so I'm so relieved you guys are in the chat tonight. Thank you. Hi, Jay Bowman. And Jamie Tibbetts. Yeah, I agree, Jamie. Jamie Tibbetts says, it was definitely domestic violence as well as psychological abuse. Yeah. I mean, we can just hear the way that she just went off on him constantly. And I don't know why he stayed with her as long as he did, but that's this cycle of abuse too. Yeah. But Beth of a salesman. Yes. I love that. Death of a salesman, Beth of a salesman. Steve talks about Hinch like he's a cartel member. He does. It's all so dismissive, like he's a felon living in Christine's basement. And from the trial, he didn't live in Christine's basement during the incident. He was visiting. So I don't know how they got to know each other. But anyway, just because somebody committed a crime, went to jail, prison, or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad person either. So, in my opinion. Hi, Juliet Soul. How are you tonight? He's in the house. Yeah, Lakeside Lawyer. I wondered if you were from Ohio, Lakeside, because I'm in Ohio. You probably know that. But you grew up in Cleveland. She says, I grew up in Cleveland and still visit often. I can totally picture this occurrence. Yeah. So. And I guess Strongsville is kind of a really ritzy area, too, as I understand it. So a lot of money in that area. I've never been there myself. But, I mean, not that that means anything, but, I just think that sometimes, Mackenzie was spoiled, but it really does sound like they just let her run everything, which anybody who's a parent, you never let your kids run things. And don't start it early either, because they'll keep it up. They'll turn out terrible. Case in point, Mackenzie Shirilla. Yes, exactly. Love knows no words. She says, after this incident, Mackenzie texted Christine and told her that Dom tried to grab the wheel. Yeah. So what do you guys think? Do you have the feeling like I do that she might have just been, that might have been a total gaslighting thing? It's like, well, now I'm caught because Dom called his mom. And so now I have to come up with a story. So let me blame it on Dom. And I can't remember Dom. She did text Dom. Text messages went back and forth between them, but I can't remember Dom denying it. But he did. I remember him saying something like, "You're just tripping," Mackenzie. I just don't think the poor guy wanted to fight. Whomever I heard reading some text messages earlier, she said it went over like 2 or 3 videos just on the same argument, days apart. Can you imagine living with somebody like that, or dating somebody like that? It's like, no, life is too short. So, oh. Yeah, love knows no words. Good point. She says, that's why I think he had his seatbelt off during the crash. He was trying to grab the wheel to stop Mackenzie. The car data reflects this. I agree. Absolutely. Oh, I'm sorry, Jay Bowman. Is your wife okay? He says, Anne, my wife has been in the hospital, so things have been hectic. She's finally home and doing well now. Hope all is well with you and yours. And she is okay, though? She's home and everything, Jay Bowman? I'm just reading the chat here. Would you guys, I'll do it if you guys want me to. Wendy Williams says, yes, you should absolutely read the last 3 months of texts from the relationship. It's very obvious and heartbreaking. If you guys want me to sometime on a live or a regular video, I can do that and just do it in my own style, not just reaction, but also the framing and what I think she's trying to do. Not that I'm a psychologist or anything, but I take more than a psychologist to deal with Mackenzie, I think. Yeah, and Jay Bowman says, good grief. They're more worried about Mackenzie's stuff than they are about his family grieving. Absolutely. They've shown time and time again that they're not really concerned with the family at all. They don't have, it doesn't seem like they have any compassion or any kind of empathy for what the family was going through, is going through still forever, because now they've lost their loved ones. Love knows no words. Yeah, she's replying too. I agree. That's why I think he started videotaping her. He knew things were escalating and wondered if he'd need the evidence of her volatility. I totally agree with that, because we don't know of any other videos that he made earlier on the relationship, but I think that he knew that she was escalating, and he wasn't, he wanted some evidence. So thank goodness for that. Yes, Kelly struggling. It was Brandy investigates or Brandy investigating. That's who I was watching a little bit. She was funny because one of my viewers said, watch her sometime. I'd never heard of her. So before this live stream, I went in and I listened, and she's funny. But I'd have to make the words big, because I've tried to read the text before, and just in their format, I was totally confused. Green and blue, and things like that. I can imagine myself just going totally confused. The biz end says, habeas corpus is like your last Hail Mary, absolute last opportunity for appeal. And it's rather shocking it wasn't struck down, which it's 99% of the time. Yeah. I just wonder. Oh, Roxy is in the house too. Roxy, another member. Welcome, Roxy. She says, do you guys think she escalated because of the changes in his tone with her? He went pretty gray rock those last few weeks. Oh, good question. What do you guys think? I mean, when I heard him when she was trying to break in, he was like very monotone. It's like, oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know if he was always like that with her, but maybe he knew it does not even work to even try to argue with her. I feel so bad for him. Yeah, Aylin4525 says, Roxy, absolutely. She knew she was losing him and couldn't endure it. I agree. Hey, Lakeside Lawyer, you say his speech is deceptive. Do you mean Dom's speech? That's what I'm assuming you're talking about. It could be like, yeah, Lakeside Lawyer. Steve seems strung out in his interview. I strongly suspect his demeanor was Kenzie's model. I do agree. I think he's got, it seems to me he has an anger control problem, and he just spouts off when he gets angry and stuff. So, yeah, I agree, Roxy. Roxy says, I feel sorry that he didn't get out soon enough. His kindness held him there, I think. I think so, too. And his brother had said that he did care about her. They had been together for several years. But we know that she got progressively worse as she got older, which, like I said, I'm not a psychologist, but if she had a personality disorder and nobody's doing anything about it, she's not getting any counseling and things like that, then I can see it escalating. You know, she needed help. She needed somebody to step in, and apparently nobody did. And her parents should have, in my opinion. So. Oh, thank you, Jay Bowman, for the jewels. 350 jewels, finger heart. Thank you so much, Jay Bowman. I appreciate it. Tell your wife I said hi, even though I don't know her, but she's welcome to come into the chat when she feels a little bit better, that's for sure. I'm glad she's feeling better and she's out of the hospital. What is Jamie Tibbetts says he still could have said, do you want to die? But he would have asked that, are you crazy? Do you want to die? Oh, I see what you're saying. That's probably because I see Mackenzie as like an habitual liar as well. She lies about everything. So she's going to take and turn everything around, but that makes absolute sense. And Lakeside Lawyer, I agree, Lakeside Lawyer. She says Steve tries to discredit Hinch every chance he gets. It's gross. I agree. He just throws out those, she fell and living in her basement. It's like, that's not the only thing he is, I don't know what Steve. Let's just say, I'm so glad I was never in his class. Well, I would never be in an art class anyway. Can't draw a straight line. But can you imagine his students? What was he like as a teacher? I've gotta wonder. Oh, tell it like it is. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. She says, I've had to stop reading the text between the two teenagers as it gives me severe trauma. She was the most abusive person I've ever read. I agree with you. I mean, to hear her, the way she talked to him, and it's like, do you really think that you deserve him, Mackenzie? Yeah, and Jamie Tibbetts also said his mom knew because she told her to stop lying. Yeah. Oh, yes, love knows no words. Being a felon doesn't make you a liar. Absolutely, Roxy says, yes, I agree. Cluster B personalities are very astute to other signs. And Samantha from I Don't Belong Here has said that she fits most of the signs of borderline personality disorder. And probably by today, as her age now, she'd be diagnosed with it, I would assume. true Lakeside lawyer who says two things can be true. He can be a felon and he can provide honest testimony. Absolutely. Especially if you're under oath. You get in a lot of trouble for lying under oath, you know, on the stand. So, yeah, Golden Girl 57. Absolutely. She says, Steve talks like he knows everything, but apparently there was a lot he didn't know. He always has to shout to be heard. He needs anger management. Absolutely. You know, and then you have Natalie, who I really do think she's the peacekeeper. You can see it in the way she talks to Mackenzie. Well, we've talked before. She never allows Mackenzie to take accountability for anything. Whenever Mackenzie occasionally tries, she goes, no, you're fine. No, don't even think about it. Don't feel like that. It's like, well, sometimes you have to feel bad when you do something bad. It's not that you should live in shame, but you know what, so. Oh my gosh, I did not know that. Tell it like it is. Says she threatened to light his house on fire and turn him into the police for selling drugs, whatever. I never know what YouTube's going to do with that word, but anyway, he 100% was a dealer and his mom was aware. I have read something about that. So his family did know that he was a dealer. And I did read a text where she had threatened to turn him in or something. And or snitch on him. It's like, really? But, you know. So I'm just reading the chat here. You guys are so engaging, you know, and with so many different points of view. It's wonderful. Yeah, Lakeside lawyer. Yeah, he says, yes, Steve tells on himself with that passionate denial. Yes, he does. I mean, that's like, kind of like psychology, probably 101, something like that, even though I'm not a psychologist. It's like, when you get really worked up about something, it's because it triggered you, is how I take that. It hit a nerve, whether it's something you want to cover up, or something that you're in denial about, or whatever. But when you react like that, like he's always going off, it seems. Let's see. Yeah, and Lakeside lawyer says too, Steve is a clown. I strongly believe she lost it and crashed intentionally. Oh yeah, I do believe she crashed intentionally. And if she did go, there's also a place in the transcripts if you guys read it, it talks about, of course, the police can only, the investigators could only place her phone in that vicinity, but it was not there often. So, which means this was not a place, that's not a street that she typically went down as a cut through. And there is testimony also that it was not a shortcut to their home, to Dom's home and her home. It was not a shortcut. It was out of the way. So, and Steve keeps trying to press that home. It's like, oh, it was everybody used that. That was a cut through. I used to go 100 miles. He didn't say that, but I go a pretty good clip down that road too. It's like, really, Steve? So I agree. Love knows no words. Absolutely. She says Mackenzie definitely has some serious mental health needs, but Steve and Natalie definitely made her into a monster. Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here, Jay Bowman. Yeah, he said, hey, Stina. I was just so happy when I saw you pop up because it seems like it's been a couple of weeks, but one day kind of runs into another for me. This has gone so fast. Oh, you're welcome, Lakeside Lawyer. Yeah, you take a look at them when you get a chance. She thanked me for the transcript links. Yeah, let me know what you guys think if you happen to read. Ed, it's really interesting. Yeah, Lynn 4525, great point. She says, if Mackenzie was a boy, the whole world would be screaming that she was committing DV. Absolutely. That would be totally against her. But because she's a girl, and I tell you what, you know, my mom, I think my mom had borderline personality disorder. That was not pleasant, you know, because they blow up, or at least she did, at the slightest little thing. Everything was dramatic. And it was horrible. And I think it does seem like that's what Mackenzie suffered from. Galaxina 6984, I agree. She says, I think Steve and Natalie are entirely willing to lie to protect their daughter. They are lying about the breakup the same way they're lying about Potts. Exactly. And also, I mean, in the school transcripts, they mention Potts, but somebody else brought up, and this is true as well, on the JFK podcast that Natalie was on, when they asked her about the testing, it was clear that Natalie did not know what they were talking about. So I don't think I think some doctor probably said, yeah, it sounds like she has Potts or something, you know? And in any case, even if, I guess I've heard, you know, I'm not a doctor, I don't have Potts, but I guess you can have seizures, maybe, but I still don't think you can drive, you know, like, right, you know, correctly down the road and all controlled, and suddenly you're going 100 miles an hour with your foot, you know, the gas pedal to the floor. So thank you, Anne. I appreciate you. She says, as always, your presentation has been excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Anne. And this one, who is that? These words are small. Cello-Triola, 9433. She needs to be medicated in order not to talk 240 words per minute. IMO. Absolutely. Thank you, Jay Bowman. 100 Jules, thank you so much. I'm just glad to see you guys. All of you. It's kind of like my family now. It's awesome. Anne, you know, Anne Trower is in the house. And I'm glad to see you. And Lakeside Lawyer, you've been with me for a long time, from like back probably when I couldn't get 10 views on my videos. It does take a while. So sometimes I have to pinch myself and go, oh my gosh, is this really happening? I have subs and members and things. I can't believe this. Oh, you're welcome, Roxy. And yeah. Yeah, Lakeside Lawyer says, once you read the text, you will be convinced she was capable of it. Yeah. I've heard in passing. Oh, do you guys, I'm sure you guys watch or listen to, is it ACT Tactical? And oh my gosh, he is hilarious. I was listening to him one night, and he just comes off with these things. And I was just, AG, that's right, AG Tactical, thank you, Love Knows No Words, is hilarious in the texts and phone calls. It's great to hear his take on that, because he just has his own personality on this stuff. And then he said something about Mackenzie. He was on one, he was saying, oh, it was when Natalie was referring to cots. There were cots like in the cottage, and Mackenzie said, no, beds. There were beds. And AG Tactical goes, you dumbass. Excuse my language, everybody. He goes, she is so stupid. He goes, and Natalie doesn't correct her. You know, their cots are beds, but Natalie just hesitates and doesn't correct her or anything. If that were my daughter, I'd be like, that is, honey, just so you know, that is a bed. Cots is, or maybe they don't use that term very often. Oh, thank you, Criminal Sociology 30 Jules, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. And thank you for being in the chat, visiting with us tonight. I appreciate it. Oh, I didn't know this. Leanne Goff, or I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that offhand, but she said, from what I have been hearing, she would not let him break up with her. She threatened Dom and his friends. She stated many times she was going to do things to them, or she threats to kill herself. See, that would be horrible. I totally believe that. You know, Jay Bowman, you're going to make me cry. He says, I've been saving my coins for this live. Oh my gosh. You're so sweet. Thank you. Yeah, so I just feel bad for the two boys that lost their lives. And why I just wish that Dom had another ride or something, that he had said no, because that wasn't long after she threatened to wreck the car with him. So it's sad. And then you have a passenger, which I've said before, I think she was maybe ticked off because she did say at the crash, when they extracted her, she said he's living with her and Dom. He's been staying with her and Dom. And she was probably ticked off because from what people have said, I haven't listened to all the texts, but she was very, wanted all of his attention and didn't want to share him with anything, it didn't matter if it was with another guy, a buddy, a girl, whatever. She was against it. So. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Nicole K says she was also trying to get him into the back seat another time. And she was fighting with him through text. And he said, I don't want you to drive off with me. Oh my gosh. Man. Yeah. Yeah, Roxy, amen to that. She's replying to Wendy Williams enters the chat. Kenzie has never had an introspective moment in her entire life. That is absolute truth, And see what I get, I'm not a prude at all, you guys. So the F word and thing, I don't cuss, never really in my presentations ever, and usually not in my personal life. But when I hear the prison calls or the jail calls, F this and F that, it's like a normal part of language with Mackenzie. So I can see this girl trying to get a job interview, and she's sitting there and interviewing, and she's saying, fuck this and fuck that and fuck. It's like, excuse me, did nobody ever tell her that that's not acceptable, that that's not normal language, that you use every day? So, and tell it like it is. Oh my gosh, I got to check this out. She says half of her texts were about how much she hated her parents and how toxic they were. Yeah. And remember, I did a video about when she was in school. She said she was going to not be seeing her parents anymore. So that was like when she moved in with Dom. So it wasn't always, she was probably rebelling at what little control maybe they tried to exert on her. Chris, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. She said, he said, I missed the notification. I'm going to have to watch replay. Yes, and be sure to reach out in the chat and everything, but that's totally fine. Oh, thank you. This Girl's Journey 6949 says, thank you so much. Enjoy your format and discussions. Been watching, but first comment. Keep it up. Thank you so much for your guys' support. Yeah, I agree. TMAJ 1369, the way she talked and treated him was horrible. Yeah, exactly, Jay Bowman. He says, right? It's not up to Dom to finish raising their daughter. That is the truth. They put a lot on that young man. And somebody said also that, Natalie, I mean, from what we can see, her favorite thing to do was help them navigate their relationship. I keep going back to that. It gives me the creeps. Like, what mother helps your 17-year-old navigate her relationship with a boy that she's moved in with at 17 years old? But I think it could have been a part of manipulating Dom to deal with Mackenzie, which was not his job. So I'm surprised he, I'm just surprised that he put up. I wish that day had never happened. Yeah, Happy0121 says, I think she didn't want to die, but didn't care if she did. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of people have said that in some ways, I think she threatened as a manipulation to harm herself. But on another hand, maybe she really was, kind of, had those ideations, self-harm. I'm not sure to say the S word, for YouTube. But, oh, you're welcome, criminal sociology. She says, it's been interesting hearing from transcripts. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, and you guys read the transcripts whenever you get a chance and let me know in the comments or whatever. Let me know what you think, because I haven't read all of them, but enough to put this together, because I thought it was interesting because it tells kind of a timeline that it was really in those 2 weeks before the crash, it was coming to a screeching halt, no pun intended, and with their relationship. And I think something happened that morning and he either said, we're done. Somebody else brought up, and I heard this in passing too, that her mother, or she said to her mother in one of the jail calls that when she woke up, Dom wasn't there at early in the morning. And so one of the theories is he probably got really jealous thinking he was with some girl, or maybe he was with another girl, and that could have spurred it on as well. So, and Lynn 4525 says, she was way too fond of herself to actively self-terminate, but she was upset enough that I think she probably didn't care if she died too. I tend to agree as well. So also somebody said, a viewer had asked if the parents paid for the damage that was done to the building they crashed into. And I couldn't find out I was checking. I had nothing that showed that or anything to look to see if they did, but apparently this viewer did. And he said, no, it's the insurance paid for that and everything. So, yeah. Boy, that's an understatement, Anne. She says, Mackenzie's a spoiled brat. She really is. And then Jay Bowman. Anne, she sure is. Her and her mom are so annoying. Oh, my goodness. And Danny, the magic junk drawer, says, yes, definitely gaslighting. Yeah, and Lynn 4525 says, yes, if he grabbed the wheel, it was likely to avoid a crash. I would agree. Yeah, and then Galaxina 69 says she was definitely doing damage control by calling Christine. That's what I think. I think now that she knew that she was outed kind of for her behavior. Of course, apparently they all knew how bad she was to Dom. His parents did and everything. But she, she was probably, it was damage control to the mom, because no, I didn't do that. Your son did this. Because you guys, you've heard the text. She kept texting Christine after the crash. And acting like nothing had changed. It's like, hello, your crash, you were behind the wheel and her son is gone. What part of that don't you understand? And it just tells me, Mackenzie is clueless, or I'm not a psychologist, but there's some narcissism there, I think. So, Lou 7545, this is interesting. He said, I managed to find her LinkedIn, the sister. She has had a job since at least age 16. Imagine if Kenzie had to do something similar. Oh, Kenzie would not. She'd want to be, she'd want to be her, influencer. That's all she wanted. Wow. Oh, vacay. That's interesting. Strongsville was once upper middle class. It has grown a lot in years, so not as wealthy now. Oh, Jay Bowman, you said she has lung problems and about 27% lung capacity left. Are you, is that about your wife? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah. Oh, he says, okay, she is on oxygen but doing better. Thank God. Keep us posted, Jay Bowman. Make sure she's okay. I'm so sorry to hear about that. That's hard. That's tough. Ann Trower. Lou, I don't think that would ever happen. Mackenzie, a job? Get real. Yeah, she wasn't going to work. Oh, Lakeside Lawyer. I live in northeastern Ohio, so I live in the Kent Ravenna area, actually. Where do you do you mind? Where do you live? About what part of Ohio? Oh, okay, Galaxina. I'll do that then. If you guys want me to, she said reviewing the last 3 months for framing would be amazing. Okay, I'll look that. I'll make the words bigger so that I can. My screen is big, but my eyes are not as good as they used to be. That's for sure. But yeah, that would be interesting to see, what she's saying and what's framing and. But I like, the video that we watched tonight, which I know you've all seen before, when she's trying to get Dom to let her in. He says, you broke up with me. You took your things. And he said something like, you broke up with me. No, I did not. No, I did not say it was over. No, I did not. And I could tell she was lying by just the way she said that. It's like, who are you fooling? So, yeah, Danny the Magic Junk Drawer. Mackenzie learned to rewrite history from her mom. Isn't that the truth? Yeah, but yeah, Galaxina, I agree. She says the grief that Shirillas expressed for the other two families seems so manufactured, inauthentic. I agree, and especially, well, I read there was a recording, the police, an audio recording that Christine Russo said. When they went to the graveyard of her sons and everything, she said that SOB, and she said the actual word for SOB, Steve didn't even say, I'm sorry to hear about what happened. I'm sorry about your boys, your son, nothing. He didn't say anything to her. So, yeah. I'm just looking here. Okay, guys, so it's about 8:33. We should probably wrap it up. I hate to, because this is such, I love this community. Oh, thank you for the jewels. Yeah, 450 jewels. I'm not sure how to put it up on the screen from here. Kawalkani Smiles from you must be from Hawaii. Aw, 450 jewels. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for everything. So we're going to wrap it up. Keep, communicating. I will get something. I'll do the last 3 months of the text and do either a live or a regular video about that, and we can go over the framing and everything. And yeah. Lakeside Lawyer says, I cannot imagine Steve working in a Catholic school. Right? I can't imagine that either. Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry, I can't get off here because I love this conversation. Lou 7475 says, I think it was his volatile behavior that got him fired, not the cannabis talk. You can't have someone unable to control their emotions in charge of children. Absolutely. And I wonder if he ever let loose at the school, because it seems like he can't control himself. So anyway, we're going to wrap it up. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Please, on your way out, please, if you've loved this, my presentation in this chat, please like so that the algorithm, it helps the algorithm. Help or like, subscribe. There's memberships available too, but don't feel pressured or anything like that. Just liking and being here and everything is just totally amazing. It helps so much. So I'm going to finish up then, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your evening. And I'm hoping to have maybe a couple lives a week. So I should have another one probably this weekend. I don't know on the subject yet. Maybe on the emails or the text messages the last 3 months. So I am going to say goodbye. So you guys have a wonderful, Jay Bowman, it has been, he said, I miss this wonderful community of friends and investigators. Absolutely. And I've said before, this is an amazing community. And I know I always say this because it's the truth. And I've been honest, I don't know, because I work a full-time job, so I don't know everything about the case. So I'm reading, so I haven't gone through all the emails and things. In other communities, I might have comments like, you don't know crap, you don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. Not one person. I have never had a comment like that. In fact, people are filling in the details for me. And they're telling me how fast, like in the last life, they're telling me how fast, how far a car driving 100 miles an hour. That's like 2 football fields, I think they said. It would go in the 4.7 seconds. And it was just amazing. So I just love you guys. I love this community. And I plan to keep it that way. I mean, there was somebody that came in the chat and started calling one of you, she came in ready for a fight, I think, and she was calling somebody in the chat biased. And and she was obviously on this, Mackenzie is innocent train. And I blocked her immediately because I'm not going to allow that. I mean, it's okay to disagree, but we can be adults and disagree and be respectful. And then it always adds something to our knowledge. I love reading the comments because everybody has different viewpoints and knowledge. And we don't have to get all mean about it. So I will definitely keep that out of this community when I see it. And I try to read most, or if not all, of the comments and everything. And you guys be sure to tell me if you see something like that. Let me know if you notice somebody like that. I guess you can make your own post, go into my community posts or tell me about it as well, because I will take care of it, because I'm not going to let anybody, be abusing anybody here, because this is such a wonderful community. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Ann Trower. She said, thank you, Stina. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you soon. Take it easy. Good night.